Welcome to Suburban Warrior, the podcast that will impact, inspire, and empower you to transform your mindset and become the badass warrior that you are. I'm your host and fellow warrior, Chrissy Pfeiffer, former clinician and corporate marketing exec turned multi-passionate entrepreneur, performance and life coach, and mom to 4 not-so-little warriors. Each week, I will bring you honest conversations with inspiring guests to share their stories of resilience, optimism, success, and simple yet effective strategies so that you transform your thoughts and change your behavior to get the results you want in your life. You will be empowered to take action, warrior up, and believe in you. Let's do this. What's up, warriors? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast and also a very special episode of Suburban Warrior because this is our wrap-up episode of season 2. So don't be sad. You can certainly go back, check out all the episodes that you missed in season 1 and in season 2. There are so many awesome Suburban Warrior stories for you to check out, and I highly suggest you do that. I know even myself, I go back and I listen to some of the amazing women that I interviewed in season 1, and I still am learning stuff from episodes that I not only have recorded, but listen to, and then I listen again. So be sure to go back and check them out. But today, I'm really excited about our guest who's here to wrap up season 2 with us. Her name is Stacy Bahrenfuss. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Awesome. Stacy, I'm just meeting Stacy for the first time right now. She is from Boise, Idaho, joining us. So I'm really excited. She is known as the Truth Teacher and a visionary intuitive. Stacy is the founder of Truth Teachers and works privately consulting 7- and 8-figure women leaders. After over a decade helping buyers find their external home in real estate, now Stacy guides women leaders to their internal home, leading them to activate all of their power, accelerating their success personally and professionally. Boy, do I love that. Her certified consultants, the Truth Teachers, are on a mission to revolutionize the transformation process and smash the shackles of suffering. Illuminating the truth, addressing subconscious suffering at the root, combined with the program's exclusive approach, is the fast track to success centered on freedom and fulfillment. That just sounds so amazing. Stacy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for the conversation today.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too, because in reading your bio, the words that you use, the fact that you're a visionary intuitive, I just cannot wait to hear all about you. So let's just dive right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes. So I live in Boise, Idaho, as you already mentioned. And when I was 19, I started my real estate career. And what I really wanted to do was change the industry from the experience of the consumer side. And so I was on a mission to, not only bring hope, but bring hope to the real estate process because, a lot of consumers have had a less than ideal experience. But what I found over the years was that I was constantly guiding my clients to remember their power in designing the ideal transaction, the ideal real estate process. And so I spent more time with my clients on creating vision boards on how they wanted their transaction to go than I was actually, going through the tactical elements of the real estate transaction. So I quickly saw, that one, I loved that piece of it. And there was a bigger, mission that I had, which was, to help these women leaders that by helping them, they could then have a ripple effect. So, I went through the process over 15 years, of building the real estate company and saw that be that consistent thread. And so last year I started the Truth Teachers and have really enjoyed, not only the amazing transformation that the women have when we work together, but also seeing that ripple effect, not only in their families, but in their businesses as well, when they're connected to their true self and all of them, and they really activate all of their power, they can bring that to the world and inspire others to do the same.
Yeah, I am fully on board with all of that because obviously as a mindset coach, I love the fact that you brought in to the real estate buying process mindset and creating vision boards and changing your perspective and thinking about what it is that you really want to get at the end of that process. And that's all so important as you go through any, project, or any small project, but any large, big life change. I mean, those kind of things and exercises are so important, and not many people do them. So I absolutely love that you had the forethought to really bring that into a process that doesn't, most people, it's just very tactical, right? Mm-hmm. Very like, here it is. This is what we do. Look at this house. Do you like it? Let's do a contract, right? But you were bringing in such another level of, whether it's universe, spirituality, understanding yourself, what you want out of the process before even going into it. So that's really amazing.
Yeah. And, it was such a good reminder, and it was something that I always tried to, remind people of in the process. But whenever we make a big life decision or we're going through something, even if we choose it, there is a point in the process where it feels like the results are happening to us, where we lost our North Star for a moment. And I think just remembering that at any point in a process, in any venture, that you have the power to redefine, recalibrate, and, reconnect to what your outcome is, what your vision is for the ultimate outcome of the project.
Yeah. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking, you're so right about that. Like, once you sort of start into a journey, whether it's buying a house or, changing a job or anything that's really big in your life, I do feel like you start the process, but then as soon as something comes up, if there's a bump in the road, or it feels like it's getting hard, or something changes, you feel like, wait, why am I doing this? Or what's the end goal here? Mm-hmm. So, and I know I've done that, and I know that my clients have. So I think that's something that really happens. So what is something that you recommend when that happens? Is it to sort of just come back to really understanding what your end goal is? How would you guide someone through that?
Yeah, I definitely would. Number one, remind yourself of what the end goal is. And not only that, but what is it that you're trying to fulfill in yourself by achieving the goal? Because a lot of times we go after things because we think we're going to feel differently. And I find that the more you can incorporate those feelings now, I often refer to it as like the buffet of emotions. Thankfully there's not a lot of buffets open anymore, but I never liked them, but I just,
that's one of the positives of COVID. Yeah. For sure.
But just for the sake of a metaphor, it's like thinking of, what it is that you're chasing, and knowing that that's available to you right now helps just recalibrate so that you're pursuing the thing that you want with power, versus thinking you're missing something and there's a void, or you're going to be different once you get there. You can create that now for yourself. And so I think just those two reminders are really grounding. Number one, remembering what the outcome is, but number two, what is it that I'm wanting to feel, and cultivate that now so that you're strong and in your power all the way to the goal.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That is so great, because that is something that every single one of us can do, and is available to us now.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
That is just awesome. Okay. So then, talking about sort of like this inner state that we all have, right? Because that's what it is. It's about being able to tap into our inner power, knowing that it's with us all the time, right? It's like the Wizard of Oz. It was always with you. You always had the power. And that's kind of, it seems so simple, but that really is what it's all about, right? Understanding that it is with us. We just have to tap into it. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about that inner state and how to activate that to get us to a place of fulfillment and success.
Yeah. So a lot of times, we go through life and we think that something external is affecting our internal. That's how we're programmed. Right. And so we spend our whole lives basically on the defense in different ways, right? To whether it may seem like we're playing offense, it's defense to, I don't want to feel guilt or doubt or shame or whatever the internal feeling is. But when you can really see that it all starts with you, you're the problem and the solution. I love looking at life that way. Then what you can do is, if you can see where you're coming from in any situation and make sure you're reconciled in yourself, you will be able to pursue whatever endeavor from a place of power. And so going inside and going into, okay, how am I feeling? Number one, doing a check-in on that and seeing the truth of it. So often, we're taught to really work with, let's say doubt or shame and do affirmations to get out of it. And the only way that affirmations or incantations can really take effect and work for you is if you plant them on fertile soil. And that fertile soil is your inner state and seeing the truth of it. So for example, if I am feeling guilty or shameful, I need to first admit to myself that's where I'm at for those incantations, affirmations to take root in the soil.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes so much sense. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think that's sometimes a really difficult thing to do, to acknowledge those negative emotions that we really don't like to feel, but we all feel, and that they're present almost on a daily basis. But it is hard to actually just, recognize and admit that we're feeling them. But in that admittance that, okay, I feel guilty, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, whatever it may be, that allows, like you said, it's sort of like where it's the beginning, it's the root of where we can sort of then flourish and grow and have everything else that we want.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell me then, why is understanding your inner state, the key to success and to succeed without feeling stressed out?
Yeah. So if you look at stress, you can quite often see that the stress is never about the situation. It's your story and your program about the situation. So a lot of times when something happens to us, it triggers an old hurt or emotion or, something that we haven't resolved. And so being able to see that you can succeed without stress, meaning that if you can come from that clear internal state and see that the stress in your life is mostly it's created because it's your perception of what's happening, your story on what's happening versus what's actually happening. So often I like to tell people, it's like, if you can make a brain dump of, all of what's happening, you'll see that the facts it's a lot more succinct than the story you tell about it, because there is, for a lot of people, connection in drama or suffering or a problem. A lot of, especially generations before, there was a lot of struggle. And so, whether it's the weather, whether it's whatever external circumstances are happening, all of these things affect us. And so what we really want to do is make it so that you have that clear internal state so that you can succeed without stress.
Okay. So it's really about clearing yourself and getting rid of, the negative emotions, the old stories that you're telling yourself. And when you say, clearing yourself, and I mean, when you work with your clients, are you, going back and dealing with old traumas and dealing with childhood situations and that sort of thing?
Sometimes, but most of the time what we're doing is, instead of going back in the past, because it's so easy to get caught in the weeds, because most of us, most of the women I'm talking to, it's like there's 30, 40 plus years of weeds, right? Of the stories, which is weeds, where it's really more important to see the truth of what's happening now, which is what's happening internally and what's the story that you're telling about it. Yeah. And then being able to reprogram a script that matches who you want to become versus staying where you are.
Yeah. So again, it really, that just ties back into the story that we tell ourselves, the, negative self-talk that we have on a daily basis, and flipping that switch or changing the channel on that negative self-talk to make it something more positive, right. Or anything. I even like with my kids, I hate when they're like, oh, I can't do this because, or I'm just not good at this because, and I'm like, well, who said that? Who said you weren't good at that? They're the only ones saying that they're not. Again, it's like I can very easily pick it up in my kids when they're telling themselves their own story. and I'm getting better at picking it up on myself. And and it's always easier to find out when others are like telling themselves a story and you're like, no, that's not true. You're great at that.
Yeah.
So I know you talk a lot about connection. So how is connection the way to success and fulfillment? And when you speak about connection, do you mean like connection with others, connection with self?
Yeah. So the number one is connection with self. And so again, going back to that simple example I gave earlier of, being able to see where you're coming from internally and setting the intention. And this is the connection piece. But when you can set the intention for number one, how you want to show up in the world, but number two, how you want your conversations to go. Number three, setting that intention and vision for your meetings and your overall outcomes in your business and your life. You make these connections within that are so much deeper than what we consider connection, like on a basic level. We're all so busy and it's like, oh, connection and self-care is, 10 minutes of meditation. But really what's going on is we're so disconnected from our bodies and our true feelings. And so bringing it back so that you can connect with yourself, connect with where you're coming from the emotional state that you're living in and how you're showing up in the world. That's the key to success, because when you're able to do that, you're able to basically seal all the leaks in the power boat, as I call it. So it's like, if you imagine this boat and all of these different leaks in your boat, whether it's disconnection, whether it's, any painful emotions you might be dealing with, when you're able to connect to yourself and where you're coming from, you're able to plug these power leaks in the boat so that you're not basically distracted, fragmented in your dealings, right? Because if you're doing that, what you're doing is you're resonating and welcoming in chaos and disorder, because there's an element of you that's in chaos and disorder. And so the idea is to connect these fragmented pieces of ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. So for someone that is like listening and might be like, oh my gosh, my entire day is chaos and fragmented, like, many busy moms out there. But so is there a strategy or an exercise or something that you recommend, doing to help you feel more connected or to help you understand what that feeling is like when you are connected?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is, especially like as a busy mom, is to remember that your inner state from a consciousness perspective is affecting your children more than anything you say. And so if you take just 10 minutes in the morning, and I call it the triple threat system, but it's 10 minutes, but you could really say that it's 9, but it's 3 minutes on each thing. And so the first 3 minutes is a breathing practice. You can simply go on YouTube. I have a quick 3-minute meditation, but for 3 minutes, it's a quick meditation and you clear your mind and connect to yourself. So that's step one. The second step is to write out things that you're grateful for. And doing this on simple things like the fact that were able to get out of bed. The more simple, the better, because that trains the mind to look for the simple things in life to enjoy and appreciate. Then the third one is to focus on your short and long-term goals. The more that you can start your days grounded and connected in this way, that's how you're going to show up. So instead of being chaotic and, from back-to-back appointments with the kids, you may still have all of that busyness, but your presence is connected and you're no longer showing up fragmented because you took the time, just 10 minutes in the morning, to center yourself.
Yeah, those are great. I think that a morning practice, I know I preach this all the time, so my podcast listeners have heard this before, but I am a huge proponent of establishing a morning practice for yourself. I think it really does just kick off your day in the right way. It grounds you. To your point, I believe it makes you more present throughout the whole day. And I love this triple threat idea. And I'm assuming, so it's like 3 minutes technically on sort of roughly 3 minutes on each. So it's, anyone can find 9 minutes in their day, in the morning. You just might have to like maybe set an alarm and get up, 10 minutes earlier. But this is something that's so simple, but it can literally affect your entire day. And when you do that on a daily basis, the next thing you know, it affects your whole month then your whole year, and then for years of your life, just because you've implemented a simple grounding practice of gratitude and being present in the morning.
Yes. And what's great about this practice is that you can build from this basic practice. You can add 10 minutes of reading. You can add, a longer meditation, but at least you have a basic starting point where you can win with yourself and whatever, the day brings to you by doing the simple routine in the morning.
Yeah, that's awesome. So while we're doing this routine in the morning, I know you also talk about sort of like understanding and learning about the difference between what you want in your life and what you think you want. So the morning routine's a great time to figure that out. So, but can you elaborate a little bit about that? Like, how do we know what we want versus what we think we want?
Yeah. So a lot of us are basing what we want off of what we're exposed to. So that's the first thing, is to evaluate, are you pursuing what you want based upon what your family's achieved, what your community's achieved, right? Because a lot of times there may be something you would pursue differently if you were aware of it. And so I just recommend people, do research. If you like to travel, research all the different, travel places, even get in contact with a travel agent and just have them put together ideas. I think that the more we lean into, especially as women, the more we lean into creativity on creating this life and these desires from a place of playfulness, the more we want to engage in that and make that all happen. A lot of times, when you think about what you want, another aspect of that is you're looking at it sometimes from how much time you have, maybe the resources you have currently. It could be the team that supports you, the home health that supports you. And I encourage people to just take the lid off, and take any limitations off of that and look at it from the perspective of what I really want, not based upon what I can see currently, the resources I have, the support that I have, and really get creative with that process.
Yeah, I think that is amazing advice, because I really do think that when you start to explore what is not just right in front of you all the time, when you start to understand what your real options are, like you said, even just with travel, something, that's so fun like that. And another great example is just even going out to dinner. I mean, I know my husband and I are really guilty of this. Like, we go out to eat in the places that are like literally within like a 2-mile radius of our house. Yeah. And yet we live right outside of Philadelphia, and there's so many amazing options to eat in the suburbs, in the city. And when we do actually go out of what we're used to, we're like, wow, that was so fantastic. But, it just takes a little bit more thought and a little bit more exploration. And obviously that's just one little example, but I love that, because it's a great reminder to us that just because something isn't, in our group of friends or in our town or what we're exposed to, it doesn't mean it's not accessible to us.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially in today's world. I mean, I was talking about this yesterday with my husband. It's just like, it's amazing the amount of solutions that we now come up with as, the human race. Yeah. It's like what used to be a roadblock 50 years ago. Now there's 5 different options to overcome that. And so having that mindset, that childlike, mindset towards your desires and what you want will make it so that not only you'll find it easier to make these desires a reality because you're having that playful, attention towards it, but also, you'll find that opportunities will pop up and synchronicities will happen because you're in that flow of creation versus, not trying to achieve what you want.
Right, exactly. And I love that. I mean, just the thought of the flow of creation, it just sounds so wonderful. And it is such an amazing place to be in. It is awesome. So I have to ask you, because I really do love this. I know you think you're a visionary intuitive, and I want to understand that a little bit better. So what exactly does that mean? Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So the first piece is I am a visionary through and through. And so just being able to see that bigger picture, obviously, the standard definition of a visionary is one thing, but the combination of being a visionary intuitive means to me that I have this gift that I've been given that is what I'm here to share with the world and my purpose, which is being able to speak the truth, live the truth, and be direct with that truth while holding that vision of awakening humanity, right? It's like everything that I have to do. If I am creating a new program, the people I train to execute the program for the clients, there is a tie for them on their own awakening path. And so it's being able to, tie that intuitive piece that I bring into my client workings into everything that connects to the vision of the business and the mission that we're here to achieve.
I just love that. That is so incredible. And I asked that because I really do believe, I believe a lot in our intuition. And I do believe that we are all intuitives, and, we all are it's just about the matter of tapping into it and how likely we are to listen to ourselves and follow that inner voice. And I think just like any other muscle, it's something that has to be worked. We have to get better at really channeling and listening to ourselves. So I just love that. And I do agree. I think you are a gift, Stacy. I think everything that you've shared with us today has just been so fascinating. And you have such amazing advice to share. So, okay, I'm going to ask one last question. I was going to ask you, so for those that really want to start to access their dream life right now, what would be your number one thing to say? Start today. Do this.
Yeah. Just going back to what the beautiful words you just spoke about intuition is tapping into that, because there's so much gold there. And all of us have our own intuition. Some people receive it differently, but we all have it. And so a simple thing that you can do today is to just ask yourself, or ask, guidance, God, the universe, whatever you believe in, for the best next step, or what's the best next step for my dream life next, and listen, and you will receive something. And it may seem completely odd. For example, I've asked a question about one thing and I got crickets, didn't get any response, but got a response about something completely unrelated. And following that ended up answering the bigger picture of what my original question was. And so I think taking what for some people could be a small step, big step, you can look at it however you want, but just asking that question will connect you to yourself more, so that you can really tap into what your true desires are.
That is such fantastic advice. It really is. And it's simple, right? It's asking a question. And I think that sometimes we just don't even think to do that. I know I don't, until I'm like, and then like, just when you said it, like ask the question, it's like, oh yeah, I need to do that. And I need to do it more. I need to do it all the time. And so it's such a simple way to really help us tap into our inner guide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Stacy, thank you so much for being with us today. It was such a pleasure to have you on and to hear about your amazing gifts and the gifts that you're sharing with the world, and to hear more about Truth Teachers. And so if people want to find out more about your program, Truth Teachers, where's the best place to find you?
The best place is our website, which is thetruthteachers.com.
Okay, awesome. And you are also on Instagram, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. At the Truth Teachers.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, great. Well, we will make sure we link all of those in the show notes for all of our listeners to hear. And again, thank you so much for sharing your wonderful gifts with us today. You are truly a suburban warrior, and we appreciate hearing all about your story. So guys, thank you again, all of my listeners, for joining. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to season 2 of Suburban Warrior Podcast. We will be back with another amazing season. But until then, check out all of our previous episodes. And thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day, week, you name it. Go Suburban Warriors.